Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, President, Dale Carnegie Training here in Tokyo. Our special guest today is Nate Hoernig, who is the founder of Humble Bunny. Humble Bunny. You better explain to folks what Humble Bunny is about. Why the name, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we're a marketing agency. We bring primarily global brands into the Japanese market, especially digitally. And Humble Bunny, the name is actually, has two sort of sub-stories to it. First of all, we all know how it is when we first come to Japan and we experience Japan, very humble service culture. Are Japanese people actually humble? You know, that might be a separate podcast that you do that takes 3 or 4 hours, right, to debate through. But at least on the way people treat each other, they're socially active with each other. There's a lot of humility in this culture that we think is admirable and that we want to carry with us as a brand and as people. And then the bunny is actually a reference to, there are some American Indian cultures that apparently the rabbit represented standing up to one's challenges or one's fears, which is a bit counterintuitive because I don't know about you or the audience, but when I think about a rabbit, I think of skittish, scared, nervous, and then runs away. But somehow in these Native American Indian cultures, it was a different representation, and that is a really good symbol of kind of who I think we are, who our team is in terms of like coming over to Japan, trying something new, and then of course also our clients as well who are saying, hey, Japan is this black box culture. We don't understand it at all, but we're going to go for it anyway. So this idea of facing forward and just going for it, that we also think is really admirable.
So how long ago did you start Humble Bunny?
So I started Humble Bunny in 2009.
From zero?
From absolutely zero. I was
you were employee number one.
I was employee number one. I was a graphic designer by trade. And so I studied that in school, and I'd spent a couple years of my professional journey doing English teaching, but also doing design for the same company. And I wanted to do more with design, so I started Humble Bunny as an entity for that. And things just kind of snowballed over the years. You know, our first year's revenue, I can never remember the exact number, was something like 27,000 yen.
27,000 yen.
27,000 yen.
You and I can just about have a nice dinner for about 27,000 yen.
Yeah. One dinner, one decent dinner. Yeah, $200.
Good wines, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, though. Total revenues.
Yeah, and then it just snowballed over the years. You know, clients got bigger, introductions, et cetera. Our own marketing took off a little bit more. So,
Well, it's always the irony, is that when you're a marketing agency, you got to market yourself perfectly to show the clients that, hey, we can do this for you. So it's always a bit of a catching your own tail there. And I guess, you know, I don't know what the construction of your team is, but I'm presuming it's got a mix of Japanese and foreigners, or mainly foreigners, or?
Yeah, we're about 50-50.
50-50?
Japanese and non-Japanese at any given time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know in Japan, hiring people is difficult, and especially for new companies. We started this company it's a franchise business. We bought the franchise in 2007. Now, Dale Carnegie, been in Japan since 1963, been in New York since 1912. So brand, 100 countries around the world, everything. But man, do you think we could get any Japanese to come and work for us? For them, you're a new franchise. Dangerous, risky. Might fail, might lose my job. So it was very hard at that time to convince Japanese to come on board as staff. And I'm just wondering, did you have a similar issue around trying to get people to take the risk with something so, I'm going to say, fragile, in the sense of employee number one, come and join me, and new, and no track record, no trust built, no deep pockets or that sort of thing? I mean, that must have been difficult.
Yeah. What you just described is still a very real issue, I think. There's this one story that sticks out in our history where we had a girl come into our company as an intern, and she was really great. We wanted her to come in more of a full-time aspect, or at least just like a steady part-time aspect or something. And she told us that she wanted to keep working with Humble Bunny, and she told us that she was really enjoying the job. And she also told us that she was interning at Ogilvy as well. And so we were like, okay, we can't really compete with a name like Ogilvy, like not now, right? Someday. But we felt good about that. We were like, oh, she's, she prefers the job description. She told us all these things. She ended up going to Ogilvy.
Of course she did.
Because of the name, because of the
probably
caliber.
because her parents said, Humble Bunny, Ogilvy.
Who are they?
You're going to Ogilvy.
Yeah.
And her grandparents said, Humble Bunny, Ogilvy, you're going to Ogilvy.
Yeah. But being a fresh college graduate, that was the direction. Maybe it's that legacy mindset, Japanese mindset, instilled in her. Maybe it was encouragement by the parents. Not really sure, but it's just for me very unfathomable to think about. I like the job description. I like the job. I like everything here. Yet I'm going to actively choose something else instead. Like I would. It's just a very unique.
It's usually for us. It's usually the spouse is the first obstacle. Second is the parents and grandparents. Third.
Interesting.
That's a very typical pattern because in Japan it's a different culture. It's not as maybe as independent. I'm coming from Australia, so I never asked my parents ever about any work I ever chose. That's my decision, my responsibility. I take the consequences of that. But in Japan, a little bit different. So you're not just got one conversation going on. There's sort of subtext conversations in the background as well. So it is hard. But it sounds like you managed to convince some people to come and join you. So how did you manage that? How did you manage to convince them to take the risk?
Yeah, well, I think it helps that we're a marketing agency bringing brands into Japan. So there's already a little bit of an allure. The client work itself is going to attract people who are more bilingual or more international. So I would say that our subset of talent that we actually attract is actually probably really narrow. And it's those people who are like, maybe not 100% Japanese in terms of their psychological constitution, if you will, but like they have lived overseas or they're deeply interested in overseas and they're bilingual as well. So we might not be a perfect example for like how to attract Japanese, but yeah.
In a way, they're type of self-selecting too, aren't they? Because if you've lived overseas, you've studied overseas, you come back, but you want to use that. You spend all that effort adjusting to another culture, learning English, presumably, and then you come back and you're working in some Japanese company. You never get to use English. You never get to mix with foreigners. You never get to go overseas. It's like, why did I waste, 3, 4, 5 years, what it was, and wherever I went, and I don't get to use it. I want a place where I can, express my experience and the skills I built up and build on those. So they, in a way, it's changed, I think, in the last, I'm going to say 10 years, because 10 years ago, Japanese companies were not competing with us for that talent pool. They were not competing.
Oh, right.
But since Japanese corporations have started to realize, okay, domestic consumer-based population declining, we have to grow outside of Japan. So we're going to have to open up branches and have a more of a international interaction. And they're looking for Japanese who've studied overseas, bring them in and get them to work in the company. That didn't present an issue until about 10 years ago. And then you started to notice candidates have got offers from Japanese companies, which was always foreign companies have had an offer. It was never a Japanese company. But that's changed. So it's getting harder.
A lot of those candidates, when they come to us, they have a different kind of scar, which is that they've gone into those companies thinking that it was going to be some sort of like international experience, but then they're stuck in these still very traditional Japanese working systems, you know, the multi-stamp and don't go home until later. And it's interesting how, you know, those of us who've been in Japan, we've been in multiple conversations around that, but it's still there, it seems. So
why are you in Japan at all? You know, why aren't you, you know, at home doing design work there? Why Japan? How did you get here? And, you know, then how's this evolution evolved?
Yeah, well, originally, so I'm a quarter Japanese. My grandmother is Japanese. So my father was, or my grandfather came to Japan during the occupation after the war, met my grandmother, moved to the States in 1952. And then, so I was born with a little bit of that culture. When I was little, we used to do my grandmother would do these massive Japanese feasts at her, you know, this house that my grandfather and his like cousins and siblings basically hand built in Midwest Indiana, which is where I'm from. And we would all converge, all the aunts, uncles, cousins, we'd all converge, and we would just play all day long. And then, you know, huge yard, right? So dinner time, right? And then all the cousins would rush back in, and we'd have these massive Japanese feasts, right? Sukiyaki, tempura, tonkatsu.
She's making it all by herself.
Her younger sister was also in the States, so her younger sister would help, and then some of the aunts and uncles would help. Me, I was like 11, so I was just like screwing off, you know, running out in the fields or something, right? But it, you know, that's where that sort of that warmth towards the culture, I think, began inside of me. And then I was really lucky because when I joined high school, they offered Japanese language at my high school, which is really
in Indiana.
In Indiana, which is just really rare.
That is incredibly amazing.
Shout out to John Neindorf, my teacher, who
Sensei.
Yeah, who proposed it to the school that I was at. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. But so I was lucky that he was there. He introduced the program into the high school I was at. Took the classes, did a homestay, went to college, got a degree in that and graphic design. As well as art history. And then after school, design being my main thing, it was like, what am I going to do without a real portfolio? And I was also kind of living in a college town for a while, so I was sort of ready to try something else, get away from that college town, you know, American party vibe, right? And so I was like, I'm going to go to Japan and, you know, may actually learn the language that I have this degree to. And I came, I just never left. It's just, you know, like.
Well, it's a pretty good place to come to. I mean, you know,
it's a pretty good place. I mean, the food is
no
good.
guns, no major drug problem, no major crime problem, no graffiti problem, no litter problem, no rude service problem.
Yeah,
not bad.
I tell my wife all the time, I think that like me living here has probably extended my life by at least 5-8 years, just diet wise, you know.
Yeah.
Look at the color of the egg yolk. In Japan, it's just this orange. And then compare that to overseas, where it's like this light yellow, or at least the States, which is where I'm from. And I just like, I look at the egg yolk and I'm like, I'm glad I'm here.
The egg yolk theory of why Japan's a better place to be.
Egg yolks.
And so in terms of convincing, I'm thinking particularly Japanese. With foreigners it's a bit different because they have limited options if they don't have the language on where they can work. And if they're at humble money, they can work in English. Bingo, I'm there.
Yeah.
But if you're Japanese, you've got lots of options.
Yeah.
So what did you find was persuasive in talking to them to get them to take the risk of coming on board?
You know, I don't really know what is the specific hook. We've hired quite a few Japanese people over the years. They've I think a lot of them have come in knowing that they wanted to work at an agency doing marketing, extending their English skills, and learning along the way. I think learning is something that a lot of the past employees have gotten when they've come into our business.
But is that something that I'm going to use the word pitching, it's probably not a good word, but there's something you're emphasizing that, hey, we're a small agency, but you come here, you're going to get good quality work, a variety of work and exposure to things that you might not get in a bigger company who would be sort of pigeonholed. And you're going to learn a lot here in a very fast period of time. So this is a good incubator for you.
Yeah.
That type of approach, I'm just wondering, was that the sort of winning combination of things?
Yeah, I don't think we haven't necessarily pitched it that way. But I do think that people coming into our business get a lot of variety just by nature of how our business is built. So we have a lot of really globally visible names in our portfolio of clients, but we also do a lot of small and medium-sized work, right? And so at Humble Bunny, they know that they're going to get a variety, right? And I think it's maybe appealing to Japanese people that there's going to be some big name in there, but
Well, that's
also
interesting. I mean, how on earth is a company? I'm 7 years old, you said, was it? 7, 8 years old now?
No. I mean, we incorporated in 2016, so we're in our ninth
year, right?
Ninth year, but then the entity itself is almost 16 years old.
Oh, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, it's longer than that.
$200 first year revenue. That's 16 years ago. Yeah.
The Nate Fortune.
Couple logos.
Nate Fortune.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, how does a relatively recent small organization, how many people in the whole team?
So we have 8 in total.
8, right?
Yeah,
So
right now.
you're a small 8-person, island
Yeah.
in this massive Japan sea here of agencies.
Yeah.
Bigger agencies, medium-sized agencies, similar small agencies. Why does a foreign organization come to you? Why aren't they going to Dentsu, or why aren't they going to one of the other big foreign agencies here? As you said, Ogilvy and such, all these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even get business from these big players?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the business that comes to us from the bigger players are actually usually larger agency introductions. So we have relationships with quite a few larger agencies. Sometimes
Is it because they can't be bothered doing it? It's too small for them or something? Why don't they do it?
It might be like a collaboration piece, or it could be, a lot of the agency relationships that we have are not in Japan. And so they don't have the expertise, but they want the Japan experience under their brand name, right? So we'll help support them as a partner in the Japanese market, for example. Or even the local ones, it might be a little bit more performance oriented, right? So our company is not a branding agency per se, and we're also not a media agency per se. So there's a lot of...
you're not buying space for companies to, online or in the, magazines, or you're not doing that. Okay. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
We're still trying to figure it out. I'm just kidding. So we primarily, our main thing is that the majority of brands that are coming into Japan, when they localize, they're usually underperforming in terms of like cost per acquisition, the return that they're making on their ad spend. They're like almost 97% of the time lower in Japan than they are overseas. We call these businesses phase 1 businesses. Where our strength is that we developed a framework around Japanese consumer decision, and we apply this framework to all of our marketing products. So if we're doing advertising campaigns, or if we're rebuilding landing pages or product or service pages, we apply the framework. And by virtue of that framework, over the course of a number of years, we're able to average about 5.7x lift in their performance. Most agencies don't have an average performance metric for you. They'll give you a case study, but we want to convey the stability and consistency of that framework. And that
is a 5.7% lift in revenues, or is that just in exposure, or what is that?
It depends on what the KPI is of the project, right? But in general, we're looking at volume of purchases in general.
Purchases.
Yeah. Yes. So what we do is we use that framework to do a couple of things. We use that framework to localize those brands into Japan. If they're phase 1 and they're underperforming, like I was saying, we help get them to what we call phase 2, which is equal or above performance relative to their globals. And then primarily what we're talking about are advertising strategies, advertising execution, landing page development.
This is B2C oriented.
We actually do service-based industries and product-based. So we do B2B and we do B2C.
Oh, you do both. Okay.
It's actually almost a perfect split, about 50-50. Yeah.
And I'm sort of thinking to myself, you see Japanese websites
Yeah.
and you see Western websites. The Western websites have absorbed the ideas of Zen,
Oh, yeah.
space, emptiness. And the Japanese websites are sort of Baroque, packed with text and just, images, just bang, bang, bang. So is that what you're doing? Are you sort of taking the Western model into Japan and then packing their websites so they look like Rakuten or something like that?
Well, it's not really about, the Japanese consumer is very aesthetically conscious, right? So it's not about packing, right?
When I look at their website, it doesn't look particularly aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
To my eye, it looks a mass of information.
Well, what's interesting is that the massive information sites, they're usually not selling a product themselves. They're usually more functional websites. They're more like, what they're designed to do is navigate a user from point A to point B, and they're in the middle. So like Rakuten, the goal of Rakuten is a functional goal. The goal of Rakuten is to get a user to find the product that they want and to buy. So it's a functional goal, right? Rakuten itself is not trying to trigger a conversion, right? Same thing goes for Yahoo Japan. These are like the really big, the big two that
The
everyone's
big ugly ones, I would
really,
call them.
yeah, the
big and
ugly
ugly.
But they're highly functional, right? And the point is that they give people choice. And so I think the Japanese consumer needs a little bit more information before they're going to be ready to buy or to take the next step. So it's more about giving Japanese people an opportunity to understand many aspects. This is how our framework is built. There are 8 lenses. What we do is we try to work with brands to cover the 8 lenses, these 8 different topic areas in their messages and in their product presentation, so that any subtle concern that a Japanese person has, they can answer it by one of those lenses, right? Japanese experience is like the difference between a novel, which is a single stream that the author determines for us, versus a choose your own adventure book, which I don't know if you remember those, but it was like you read 3 or 4 pages and then there's 2 options. Which one do you want to do?
Didn't exist when I was a kid, don't worry.
Okay. So this might have been like an 80s
I think so.
80s kid thing, but the idea is that there's a choice, right? Where are you going to go next, right? And Japanese people, I think, need that choice. Yeah.
So within the company, you've got some access to some good brands from overseas to do market entry, basically, and get them established here and scale their businesses.
Yeah.
So what have you found has worked well to keep people with you? Because retaining staff is a big issue. And one of the issues for something I'm imagining like yourself is you train people up, you skill them up. They might come in, if you think about an A, B, C, D, A player, B player, C player, D player, you might be recruiting them at the sort of D and C stage, and then you turn them into C's and B's, and then some might become A's. And then another deeper pocketed competitor, a company says, hey, come over here, we'll pay you a lot more money than Humble Bunny's paying you, so leave those guys, join us. You've trained them, and they walk out the door after you've spent a long time in developing them over this long period of time you've been going. So what have you found works well to engage your team members to stay with you and not bail and to keep, following you as the leader?
Yeah. I think what I can share is what we've done in the past. But I think prefacing that with, I don't necessarily know if this was good or not. And in fact, recently we've been making a lot of changes in the company to improve everything. But the historical version of us, I think the 3 reasons they stay is, 1, they're learning a lot, right? And again, this is partially because in the past we hired junior or like low mid positions quite a lot. And those individuals, they wanted to learn. They came into the interview saying, I want to learn more. I'm doing one thing at this job, but I want to learn more. That was a really common thread. So we didn't really push it that much in the interview process, I don't believe, but that was one thing that they knew they could get coming into the company, right? So that was 1, learning. 2, we've always been pretty good at hiring very conscientious people.
How do you know they're conscientious when you hire them?
Well,
because everyone is their best self in the interview, you know.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
they're even more than their best self in the interview.
Yeah.
They're their fake best self in the interview, which you buy.
Yeah.
And then they come in the door, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is about the way you interview as well, right? Like
You got some secret sauce there?
Well, I think you have to keep digging into stuff, right? Like if a traditional interview is like a single question, a single answer, and then you move to the next question, there's no, you can't sort of hold people accountable for their answers, or you can't question their answers, or you can't really get the deeper details, which will actually expose what they did or didn't do, what they owned or what they didn't own, et cetera, right? And so I think by digging in really deeply on the questions and saying, well, why do you say it's A? Like, wouldn't most people perceive that as B or C? So logically, how do you come to A? You know? And then you start getting into more deeper conversations and mindsets and stuff like that. And hopefully conscientiousness, I think, is really like, do they really care about the result of the work they do? And do they really care about the impact that their energy has on other people? And actually, do they care about the group, and do they care about the quality of the work is very Japanese. So I think a lot of Japanese people are extremely conscientious. But as far as motivating them to stay, I think we've always had a really good conscientious team. One of the highest votes we always get in our motivation surveys is like the team score is always the highest, right? Like, I'm happy with my team, right?
So what are you running what sort of surveys are you doing? Is it client employee satisfaction surveys? You're doing some sort of standard testing model you can compare with other companies, or
we don't really
you just develop your own?
Yeah, we just developed our own. We do it once a month.
Oh, every month?
Yeah, once a month.
Wow.
It's a short survey. It's like a couple questions.
Why do you do it every month?
You know, a short survey every month just to see how people were feeling that month, right? Like,
You've only got 8 people, mate.
Yeah.
Can't you walk in and feel the vibe in the room?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, no, because we're mainly remote.
Oh,
so
remote.
That's
okay.
That's
okay.
quite hard. Yeah. If we were more on site, I think it wouldn't be as necessary. But also, we were a little bit bigger previously, so it was more prevalent then.
Was it?
But you know, we know what challenges exist in any given month. We know what projects are coming in or going out. And then when we have another set of data, which is how people are feeling about the job alongside that, that's a good lens, right? It's a good barometer for how these situations affect the group. I'm
just wondering whether you're doing it so regularly, whether it becomes a bit robotic, you know, here we go, survey again, boom, 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 but not really answering the survey actually honestly. That it's like an annoying pop-up in their email box, and I've got that damn survey again, get that out of my life.
Yeah.
Does it have that aspect to it?
I'm not sure, to be honest. You know, we have a comment section, of course, and we ask people if they've graded things particularly low or particularly high to put in some comments. And, you know, I would say we spend probably more time on the comments than we do on the grades, but yeah, I mean, it's possible, right? That some members are just, I'm already busy. I just
that would be me, for example.
Yeah.
But
But also, maybe we could argue that if you're hiring really conscientious people, maybe and the schedule isn't too tight, then maybe they'll
do it honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I have my own score in there, which is really interesting to see.
You mean they score you as a leader?
As a leader, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that's very humbling.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Humble Bunny.
Yeah. I mean, I need to know as well, right? Like, I need to know how they feel about me in any given month. And obviously, you know, sometimes I get quite beat up over that, right? Sometimes the comments are about me. It's totally anonymous, of course, right? So just to encourage openness, but so it's helped me to develop a little bit more resilience to this, like, you know, you're not always going to be an approved leader sort of thing, but having Japanese and non-Japanese opinions come in, and
I'm imagining that the Japanese are not going to be saying anything particularly direct about you or the company, but I can imagine the foreigners would be. So that would be probably quite an interesting split too, because sometimes the nail that sticks out gets hammered down means you don't speak up, you don't make the comment, you don't put what you really think in there, you put what you think make people happy in there. Don't be really honest about it, hide your real opinion. So, you know, that's also a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that's part of the art of leading in Japan is figuring out the small knobs that you can twist and levers you can pull to create an I always mispronounce this, anonymity.
Anonymity, yeah.
Anonymity and safety. So the questionnaire is completely anonymous, and on top of that, before the report is given to me, one of our team members mixes the answers up. And so there's still, you know, you can't really get away. There's still little signals in here. And, you know, if you cared and you wanted to think about it, you could probably be like, oh, maybe this person said this. But it's the purpose of it is much beyond that. It's more like, what is the general feel, or what sort of opinions exist or don't exist? And particularly if there are two that are sort of reflecting a similar thing, then we'll pay attention more to those than like a single one, right? Otherwise we just go crazy, like questioning ourselves as leaders, I guess, right? But we also have a system where people can answer neutrally, but they have to answer neutral negative or neutral positive. It's a 6-point system.
Okay.
So we use our 6-point system on everything. So it's like neutral negative or neutral positive. They have to lean. They can't just float in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's really been really good.
Yeah.
Right?
If you got the 1 to 5, everyone goes for 3.
Yeah. It's completely useless, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But data engineering.
1 to 7, they go for 4 or something like that. Right in the middle.
Yeah, if you have a middle number, then
they're straight into that. Where's that middle number? I'm right in the middle. Yeah.
But we're a marketing agency, so our job is all about like architecting the data to tell a story. That's the same concept, right? Like we use a 6-point system so that we can architect a more clear story, right? And get more accuracy.
If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. Leading is easy. Getting people to follow is the hard part. That is a great quote from Yogi Berra. Surprisingly, despite the complexities of leading here in Japan, everyone has to work it out by themselves. Foreign leaders want practical, applicable, expert advice. This is now available for the first time in history. Grab your copy of Japan Leadership Mastery on Amazon today and avoid the mystery, trial and error, especially the errors. What about some things from bottom up? Because when you're the founder and you've, nursed this thing from infancy to build it, you have very strong views usually on how you want things done and what your expectations are and what the value set's going to be for the organisation, and you tend to be dominant within the company in driving it. Very typical with founders. And yet, you're only one person and you rely on other people to do their work, and you are always looking for a better way of doing things. So what things have you found work well to get ideas from bottom to come up to you?
Oh, okay. So we have a couple of things that we've introduced to generate ideas. So we have this session that we slot 2 times a month called a hands-in session. And inside of the hands-in session, well, first of all, the hands-in session is basically a slot of, I think it's 2.5 hours, and it's pre-booked into the calendar. Everyone attends. For everyone, yeah. And then depending on the needs of the company, it could be project-oriented, but it also could be business-oriented, company-oriented. And so the theme is set for a hands-in session, and we all come together. Someone coordinates the session, and we basically work on a problem that we have. And inside of the hands-in session, part of our lexicon, we have this phrase called widening the diamond. So
what do you call it again?
Widening the diamond.
Oh, widening the diamond. Okay.
Widening the diamond. Mm-hmm. So you usually...
Diamond being the diamond shape, you mean?
It's a diamond shape, yeah. So at the top of the diamond is a problem. And then you have solutions or potential ways to fix the problem. And then you centralize on the way
the best one.
The best one, or the one that you're going to at least try out, right? So widening the diamond is basically taking it from a narrow diamond to a wide diamond. And the idea is that that ideation session can go wide. But in our lexicon, it means that you are not allowed to antagonize any ideas or push down any ideas. Oh, that might not work because we're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, so you're not filleting ideas as they come in. You're letting the ideas come first.
Yeah, we let all the ideas come in. And then there's this mindset of like, how could we make it work? Not why wouldn't that work, right? And so we're trying to generate positivity in those sessions.
But you've got to make a selection on which ones you're going to use that judgment on, because you could get hundreds of ideas. Even 8 people are going to produce, a couple of hundred ideas. So ideas come out first, no judgment.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Then you have to select.
Yeah.
Within that mass of ideas, okay, which ones we look at to try and take forward and see if this is doable or not.
Yeah.
How do you make that selection?
Well, sometimes the group consensus leans in some way or another. Okay. But then I always take ownership of the executive final decision, right? Just based on any experience. I've interacted with all of the 87 clients we've ever had. Hundreds and hundreds of contracts, right? So I bring my experience in and I try to say, well, what about this situation? It's based on something I experienced like 10 years ago that maybe my current team hasn't experienced with me, right? Oh, I had this one situation before. How would we handle that? Or how do we make sure the customer service side of it is strong? Or these sorts of things. And I'll try to encourage those conversations and get the team to talk about it. But then ultimately at the end, I take response. I think the team finds safety in the fact that I say I'm going to make the final decision. But then as much as possible, we try to use like the team's idea, right? But a lot of times the team comes up with things that I've never thought of, right? And so it's a powerful system, right? Like they think of negatives that I wouldn't have come up with myself, or they think of positives.
I'm sure the Japanese team are very good at that.
So the Japanese team, in order to activate them, we do something else. So when we do the hands-in sessions and we're ideating, if we group ideate, there are 1 or 2 people talking, and it's usually the stronger personalities, right? We've all experienced this before professionally,
the
right?
Same 3 people get all their ideas on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
And then the introverts and the quiet people just sit back and passengers watching it as going on.
Yeah. Like North American culture is a very a much louder culture, a much more like,
Me.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm North American too, so I have to self-regulate, but like, which I maybe don't do very well all the time. But to get Japanese people speaking more, we'll often break into pairs, not threes.
Right.
We break into pairs.
Okay, why
Yeah.
pairs, not threes?
Because threes, you have the same problem, right? Like
The third wheel doesn't actually
there's
get
gonna
involved.
be there's
yeah.
gonna be a third wheel that's not spinning. Yeah. But if you're in groups of two, you can still have someone sort of command over, but again, if they're conscientious enough, eventually they'll be like, "Oh, I've been talking a lot. Like, what do you think?" And they'll eventually
shut up and let the other person
they'll
say
eventually
something.
pass it over, right?
That's interesting. Pairs.
And another thing that we'll do in the group setting is we'll highlight a Japanese person to say something.
Oh, okay.
So we'll, not Japanese person, just anyone who's being quiet, right?
Yeah.
But we'll, and on a few occasions we've been like, you always have really good ideas. What are you thinking right now? And then we let them kind of put something out. They might say, oh, nothing really. And then it's like, okay, if you have an idea that you want to share, that you want to think through more, that you want to put out later, send it over to me individually, because I'm going to make the final decision anyway. So opening up another channel for one-on-one, maybe in Slack or something, has also been good. So. And
you call it hands in. Is that because you're calling the hands into the office to do that because they're working from home? Is that what you call it?
We usually do it we have one on-site day a week at the moment.
But that's why you call it, like, for example, all hands is a more typical description, but you call it hands in. That's like, okay, why is it hands in? You'll put your hands in like the basketball game. Yay, go team or something.
Yeah, I don't.
What is that?
I don't think there's too much of a story behind it.
No,
I think
it's make one up.
Yeah, I'll creatively craft something for you.
Retrospectively come up with some really cool story about why it's hands in for the new people, right? Yeah. What about building trust? What have you found works well to build trust? So we talked before about getting people to join a small company, unknown company, that get people to stay with the company. And as a leader, trust is critical.
Yeah.
What have you found works well?
I think the question is really interesting because I don't know if I've actually created trust, nor how much I've been able to create.
You've got a survey every month, but you can't get any feedback on it?
I've got a survey, but being the CEO, I'm always the one who delivers the bad news. I'm always the one in control of money and how it goes, or if something has to change, Hopefully in the future we'll grow and I'll be able to identify someone. It's like, okay, you're going to be the punching bag going forward. You're going to deliver the bad news, right?
That sounds like a really alluring job description for someone to put their hand up.
Yeah, well, maybe if I pay them well enough, though.
That would probably be a factor.
Yeah, but yeah, trust is always something. I think as far as trust, like, hey, if there's an issue, if I have a problem, will Nate be there as the leader of the company to support me? I think that trust exists. I think I've, actually to a large detriment of the company, I've done a lot in the company, working in the company, as opposed to working on the company. And that's had major ramifications for some things that have happened, including recently a decline that we had. So we're in actually a transition phase at the moment, and we're trying some new things related to, I don't know if you could call them trusts, but just how staff can feel a sense of control for their career, or structures around how money is made, how promotions happen, these sorts of things. So I think those will feed into trust as well. Keeping my promises is something that's really important to me. I've always felt like I'll never break a promise, right? Even with my kids, we'll pinky promise. And every time we pinky promise, I create this weight on it. And I'm like, do not break a pinky promise. You cannot break a pinky promise, right? And so
instilling into them the rigor of responsibility and accountability at a young age. Very good. Very good.
I think I've always been really good at promises. I did have one situation recently where someone was like, Nate, you broke a promise. And that was actually really, yeah. And I think it's probably the only promise that I've broken. And I didn't realize I'd broken it. And that was a really powerful moment because it goes against like the fiber that I've always woven for myself, right? But I think I've been good with promises, you know, like even when the company's not doing well, if I told them I would do something, I'll do it, right? You know, you hear horror stories about people who go work somewhere and they were promised a raise and they didn't get the raise. Like, we want to be the opposite of that narrative, right? So I think that's helped with trust as well. But does my team trust me? It's interesting, you know, like we've gone through ups and downs together, and when things are going up, I think their trust score, if I put it into the survey, would be high. But when things are going down, I think trust will essentially degrade as well. But I think that's probably part of the journey, right? Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, you said that the core organization was larger before. So how big did it get at sort of max peak size?
We were at about 14.
Okay, so quite big.
15, yeah, at one point.
So basically halved.
Yeah, we have.
Over a period of time. So it also has some, you know, aspects around trust, reliability, longevity, capacity to grow, move up in your career, because when it's 15, 8, it's different.
Yeah.
And so what is your experience to navigate that, where you've had, I mean, I presume it didn't drop in one day, but, you know, people see the business downturn and the people leaving voluntarily or otherwise, I don't know. But that also has some ramifications around how people feel about the company and staying in you.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when the company is in decline, the main point is like trying to convey how you're going to turn it around. And the recent decline we had took about 2 years. And it was built on, the reason for the decline was a few really important foundational things in the business. So our offering, our own marketing, you know, we're a marketing agency, we're good at marketing, but when we're busy, it's a really common conundrum, right? Like,
the cobbler's children run barefoot, if you know that expression.
I don't
know. The
know
cobbler
that.
is a shoemaker.
Okay.
The shoemaker's children run barefoot is the classic metaphor.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah. The cobbler's children run barefoot. So you're
definitely.
You have this problem, right?
Yeah.
You're not marketing for yourselves because you're too busy marketing for the client, right?
Yeah. And you know, one of the issues in our business was that I started it as a freelancer doing design without the intent to actually create a business. And then just one day I just had one, right? Like, I was like, oh, we're a KK and we have teams and we have, right? Like, and so when you're growing, I mean, we grew, just the line is like this for about, 12 years, 13 years or something like that. But you don't really think about your structure, your team structure, right? Like, okay, the next hire, when you're growing, you're like, oh, we have more work coming, let me hire another marketer. Oh, we have more work coming, let's hire another marketer. So we didn't hire sales, we didn't hire marketing, we didn't hire admin. It was basically all me. But then there's also, 8 people like on the full-time team. The 15 is a mix between full-time and our part-time members. But eventually I have to work, like I said, in the business helping them. So we had to do like a big shift in the structure of the business. And
also culture, I mean, you have the luxury when you're the founder to set the culture, and naturally you design the culture that you like. So what have you found works well to build a culture that other people like in the company? It's sort of, they're all mini Nates, That's fine, but you're never going to get a whole bunch of mini Nates anyway. It's always going to be a variety of people, of experience and personality types, outlook, desires, value sets, the experience of education, countries they've grown up in, the whole works, right? But fundamentally, you find a culture that you like, and then you, populate that with them, permeates into them. What have you found worked well to build a culture?
I think we were talking earlier about the 3 reasons people potentially stay in the company, right? We talked about learning, conscientious team, and then the other one that I was going to mention is the flexibility and the trust. So I've always kind of dreamed about this scenario of building this culture where, and I used to call it what did I call it? The executive package. I haven't used that phrasing in a while, but the idea is like, as an executive, I have a lot of benefits by running the business, right? Like things that I can do that I would not be able to do if I was employed somewhere. But I've always dreamed about the idea of like, how do I extend that ability like more, right? And so thinking about the lifestyle.
You mean extend it to the team?
To the team.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So, telling people that they can choose how they work, when they work. We used to be, before Corona, it was like 9 to 6, right? With a 1-hour lunch in the middle. After Corona, it was like
all working in the office together.
Working in the office together, yeah.
Okay.
And then we changed it to core time. But then, the way core time usually works is you have a core time, you have to be at your desk during that period. But then you can tack on the other hours on the front or the back. But it's all blocked. We ended up changing that. So it's like you have to be on during the core time, but you don't have to block the whole 8-hour day. You can break it up. So like if the core time ends at 4 or 5, you can go out for dinner, do whatever you want, have an early dinner, whatever, and then tack the rest of your hours in later at night. And that was interesting because we had people who would go and do like dance classes or something. And then I would get an email at like 1 a.m. and I would panic because I would be like, why are you working at 1 a.m?
Whoa.
And they're like, no, I'm just using the system. And, like I was out for like 5 hours and I just got back. I'm just finishing up some work, like totally cool. And doesn't really work with the legal setup of the labor law, where it's like certain hours you're supposed to pay more, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But it's been something that a lot of the members have utilized, right? Like they work better at night so, but little things like that, like allowing people to take holiday, like as soon as 1 week in advance.
Taking 2 weeks in a row, for example, or something like that.
Yeah, longer holidays. Yeah.
Which in Japanese companies, it's all potsu, take a day here, a day there, maybe a week, Yeah. Or Bon, they might take 3-4 days off.
Yeah. We've got a girl right now who's on our team who is spending a month and a half in Europe.
Nice.
While working.
Month and a half.
Right. So she's
while working.
Yeah. So she's got some days.
Totally remote.
She's got some days that she's selected to be off. But like that's something that a lot of companies you couldn't do. No. But I could do that if I wanted to do that as a CEO. I could do that. So I like this idea of like flexing the perks of the company to allow such things. So that's I think when you tell people, it's like I trust that you're going to get the work done, and then the performance of the projects and the client happiness will be protected. Inside of that, do what makes sense for you. And if you have a conscientious team, it works, right? Because they're being considerate for others while they're also being considerate for their result and taking.
I think Japanese, generally speaking, have a strong identification with the client and doing the right thing by the client. They value the client. They protect the client, even sometimes to the detriment of the company. You think, absolutely. I'm paying you, but you seem to be working for the client's interest more than the company. You hear this.
Yeah.
often from leaders here,
Yeah.
expat leaders here, that they feel that, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But that's that strong drive to satisfy the client, identify the client needs, be on the client's team as a contributing member.
Yeah.
Get that balance right is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have lots of stories about that.
Sorry?
I have quite a few stories about,
You do?
yeah. Like, for example, the big one in our company is we have a contract, and the contract allows us to use the work that we've done in case studies or any promotional situation. And even when it's in the contract, we say, like, let's just go ahead and publish it, you know? And we neutralize the data to protect the client, right? Protect NDAs and things like that, using relative numbers as opposed to finite numbers, for example. X% increase, right? As opposed to A to B, right? And we've got a contract in place that says that. But a lot of the team members, not just the Japanese, but a lot of the team members will be like, oh, we need to confirm this with the client first. And anytime you do that, it won't
says no.
It won't get published.
No.
It just won't get published, right? The
Clients
will
say interesting things like,
yeah,
well, I can't do that for you because the other suppliers will be unhappy.
oh yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
what do I care about the other suppliers and their happiness, you know? And then you can't nominate who's your client and promote that because they don't like it.
yeah,
It's very hard to get testimonials in Japan, I think, compared to other countries. I've always found that difficult. We have some, but man, it's hard work.
yeah. It's in the framework that we use for that marketing result I told you about, that average. Testimonials and social cues are a big part of that, of those templates and that creative process. And it can be really hard, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and often it's hard too with, we're a training company. So if you're teaching sales, for example, and, they were selling X and then, training and now they're selling Y, can you actually pinpoint the difference was the training, or was it the currency movement, or was it the market movement, or was it a regulation change, or was it something happened to a competitor, or was it a weather event, or, there's a myriad of impact points between A and B. To say that you are the major impact point, well, that can be challenged pretty quickly, pretty easily. It's hard to then say, well, here's the proof. We did this and you got this,
Yeah.
But they know it's better, but it's very hard to be statistically accurate.
Yeah, and I think like as far you're talking about attribution stuff, right? We have that a lot in marketing. One of the things that I've become more comfortable with recently is trying not to be resistant, right? Because when we do marketing, there's always going to be some attribution conversation. So in contracts, when we're onboarding and when we're doing the contract itself, if we're doing a commission piece, we're always very clear that attribution is never going to be perfect, but that these are the constructs for how commission would happen and will happen. So we get it in writing, but then when those conversations inevitably come up, resistance is anti-customer service in a lot of ways. So it's more important for us to have a really good relationship with them and remind them about how attribution is always going to be a really big challenge. A lot of the platforms digitally have these things called assisted attribution or assisted sales. So sometimes we'll reference those numbers and kind of speak to those numbers in conversations, but ultimately there's always going to be some resistance, and if you go too hard into trying to stand up for yourself, then it sort of reduces the relationship a little bit. So
in Japan, for small companies like ourselves, the volume of business we do with a client, the scale of it, etc., you know, especially with Japanese companies, the contract's not worth the paper it's written on if there's a change.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you have a contract and then their situation changed. They said, we've got to change the relationship, you know, detail here. We're going to, it's in the contract, screw that. It's now going to be like this, and you got to go with it. You know, you can't, or you lose the client. So you often think, what's the point of the contract if it doesn't hold up any water here? On the first prodding, you know, to test it, it's like we fall over straight away. But this is the relationship, though.
That's part of it's part of the relationship and the customer. We literally had that happen a week ago to us. We issued an invoice. It was following the contract. They came back because their fiscal year switched, and there's a new person in charge. And the new person in charge kind of has some control over what they can and can't do. And the original contract was saying, regardless of this, even though there's this transition, this performance commission piece would continue. And the new guy was like, I can't uphold that. And then part of it was actually like, not because he didn't want to, but because there was an internal issue with securing that commission, right? And so it was kind of like, we're not gonna, you know, just like, so we're like, okay, we understand, you know. So we just negotiate on how the commission does continue, and then
that's right.
We lost a bunch of money off of that, right?
Yeah.
But
and that happens. I mean, we have situations where if clients cancel the training at a certain period of time before the training, they have to, very close, right? Proximity of time when the training should happen, because the trainer's all been booked, everything's ready to go, and then they cancel, that they have to pay the whole training fee. And sometimes, you know, you can't, well, you could, but you choose not to do that, and we postpone it to another time, because you know someone in the company is going to be chewing out that person, your champion usually, about, hey, we just wasted all our money here. We didn't actually get the training. We had to spend the money because, you know, even though it's their problem with the postponement, but you save them. You save them by save their face. You take a hit. I mean, eventually maybe get paid in the training later. But potentially could have got paid twice, but you give up one to keep them safe. So where's the contract in all of this? But that happens. And then sometimes it's their contract with you, and they don't know about that. If they decide to change it, they change it. It's like, okay. But if someone rang you up, you know, Nate, and they said, hey, Nate, look, you've been in Japan a long time, you've been running your own company there. I'm being sent out to Japan to run my company's Japan office. But I don't know Japan, I don't speak Japanese, you know. Give me some advice, Nate. What advice would you give them to be successful as a leader in Japan?
You know, I think for me, the two things that have been really helpful for me to sort of not only stay sane, but also to nudge forward, it has been, one, to sort of identify my own personal, like, why in all of this. That's the staying sane part. I'm still not sane. I'm
relatively sane.
I'm you know, I struggle day to day. I muddle, and you know, I think about stuff, keeps me up at night. I'm still working on, you know, like that sort of stuff, right? But knowing like my why, and then letting that instill confidence that if I make a decision towards the why, then I'm going in the general right direction. And then the other thing is like building little systems around things have been really good. I was talking about widening the diamond, this lexicon. Having that as this entity between me and my team to establish how we do our work and how we engage and what's appropriate within the business has also sort of like emotionally removed like any weight I would normally feel, because if you don't have this, then it's just, oh, annoying boss man, top down, here it comes, right? But if you have an item in the middle that you can anchor in, then it's not, I think you should do this. It's, the system, implies that we should do this, right? Like, and I think that's
internal logic.
What's that?
Sort of internal logic that makes it apparent what to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it comes from the company. It doesn't come from the individual. And I think that like that's something that exists for leaders, is especially when you're starting your business, it's the leader versus it's the person versus the team. But figuring out a way over time to make it the company versus the company. I don't want to use the word versus. It sounds very negative, but you know what I mean, right? The company and the team. And then the leader is actually the person of positivity that helps translate those things over and shows like, oh, but the path, the company path implies that we need to do it this way. And yeah, maybe it comes from the company, right? But it should come from the vision, the mission, and the mandates of the company, not from the leader, right? So
you got what you talk about is having a structure.
Yeah.
Irrelevant of who's in the leadership position, drives the business forward in some sort of coordinated, holistic way that makes sense from a regulatory point of view, financial point of view, HR point of view, et cetera, et cetera. Ticks all those boxes, and it's sort of the engine runs itself. So it's not centered in one individual.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think also when you hire leaders in your team too, they don't want to sacrifice their relationship with the team, right? It's something that the relationships need to be nurtured, right? But if bad news has to come in some way or another, how do we sort of gamify it so that it doesn't come from the person, it comes from the company, and then the person can just say, well, this is it, so this is what we're accountable towards, but I see you, right? And I understand what you're...
in that sense then, do you share the numbers with the team? For example, you go through in your hands-in, or when you get people together, you go, well, here's our sales, here's our profitability, here's the number of companies we've been dealing with, blah, blah, blah. Do you actually expose all that? Or as the owner, founder, do you sort of keep that to yourself? I mean, how do you balance that?
We expose it.
Expose it?
Yeah. And I think it's, we do it like in sort of a safer way. It's not like 100% transparent, but people can see our, like for example, we have a dashboard where we put our quarterly profit loss, right? And we update it every month. As contracts come in or leave, we adjust the numbers so that the numbers and the space between them are always changing. But what we do is, like, again, it's all about making sure that the data tells an accurate story. But also data doesn't necessarily need to be like, it needs to fulfill a purpose, right? And so if transparency is the purpose, having that data there is important. But as an example, we have like really big spikes of costs, right? So instead of saying this quarter, this is our cost base, we'll say this is our like 2-quarter adjusted cost. So it's kind of like a moving average.
You harmonize it out.
Yeah. So so then that way it doesn't look like our cost basis is like this, right? If we place someone from a recruiter,
these are what, variable costs you're talking about rather than fixed costs?
It's everything. It's everything.
Because you got, fixed costs is like this room, the air conditioning, salaries. It doesn't change much, but as you get like a lot of training orders, then our trainer fees go up, our royalty goes up to Dale Carnegie. Materials, manuals, books, etc., textbooks. These are all variable costs, so they will fluctuate naturally depending on how much actual turnover you're doing. Yeah. And what other advice would you give someone who's going to set up here and run the company on behalf of their organization?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the organization. But if I were to speak towards what's worked really well for me, is getting good at hiring is a huge thing. I think that
do we ever get good at it?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're always going to make mistakes.
I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had some horrendous hires. My fault. My fault. I can't blame anybody else. My fault.
Yeah.
Look good. and then it wasn't good, and they have to go. So this is like you talk about second guessing yourself before, Nate. And I do that with myself too. It's like, what's wrong with me? Why did I go wrong there? What did I do wrong there? Why did I make that choice? And it was a bad one.
Sometimes I've hired...
And expensive too.
Yeah, sometimes I've hired people too urgently. I hired too emotionally as opposed to practically. But also I think, like, these days, with the evolution of our business, with the big growth, the decline, the change in a lot of structure, we rebranded all kinds of different things. The next phase is really like, and also the emotional pressure of being sort of the antagonist in all of your employees' stories, right? When things go bad and you're the leader, you are the antagonist in their novel, right? They're the protagonist and you're the antagonist, right? And so you're always going to be that in some way. But I'm very much in a mode now as we get into the next phase of our business where I'm looking at developing more things like we've been talking about, like lexicon, or more structure for how promotions happen and how they don't happen, all of these things, so that I can move every conversation towards a system or towards the way it is in Humble Bunny, and not coming from me. That's the most, like, the biggest shift that I'm doing. And it's too early in my journey of making this shift for me to say I recommend this. But maybe I can come back to you in a couple of years and tell you how it all went, right? But so far, it's been good. Like the widening the diamond lexicon has been in place for a while. People know what it means. We have to kind of course correct a little bit, like let's keep positive about the ideas, right?
So what would be your definition of leadership, Nate?
I think leaders are most importantly responsible for, like, laying the road of brick in front of people and clearing the fog and debris so people can see it, and then just saying that's the road we're going to walk on, and then that speck in the distance is where we're going to go with it. I think we have to figure out a way to say that's where we're going to go and this is how we're going to get there, to make it clear that people are headed in a direction, but then to just stand there and just say, okay, walk, right? Like, but not do the work for them. So that's part of it. That's like the functional role of a leader, I think. I think a lot of businesses don't have a path, and there's also no destination, and there's also no clarity about what the path is made of. Like, is it a dirt path, like where we're going to need hiking boots, or is it a paved path where we can, use a bicycle, right? Or whatever, right? So like, we also need, what I mean by that is, like, what are the milestones or goals along the path that get there? Like, we have to define those too, which we've not always been super good at our company, which is something else that we're working on getting better at. But that's just like half of it. I think the soft side of leadership is, like, leaders can't be a leader unless they're actively thinking about being better themselves. So I think that, like, if leaders are going to be strict on people, they also have to be really strict on themselves. And the translation of that needs to be, like, how do I become a better, more empathetic, more mentally stable, emotionally controlled individual, peer, right? So that's, I think, another really important thing, a really important transition from, like, a manager role to a leader role, that people gap up, right? Dale Carnegie has the book, right? Like, How to Win Friends and Influence. It's all about how you nurture a relationship and
things that work better than other things.
Yeah. And I think it's really exciting. Like, if you know that you have your own personal work to do, and you take that step of accountability and say, I'm going to work on it, it actually becomes quite empowering, right? I'm lucky because I've had a really, really big event in my business that if I didn't have some level of self-realization and like personal control that I needed to get underway for the sake of my stress, right? It would have been hard to get through. So I'm lucky because I had that event happen that changed the path a little bit for me. So now I feel very excited about that next journey for myself, right?
That's good.
But it's new. It's a new journey for me. So I can't really speak. I can't speak like this hero story. I can just be like, you know, like, oh, this is where I'm at now. And maybe in a few years I'll be able to teach something around it. But for now, I just share my story and what I've been doing to get
it's been good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep.
It's been great.
Thanks,
Thank
Greg.
you. So please join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.